In this lesson, Organizing Worksheet Data with Tables, we'll learn how to create and modify tables. And then we'll learn how to sort and filter data in those tables, and how to use summary and database functions to calculate data. In this topic, we'll learn how to create and modify tables. We'll first examine a sample table, and then we'll turn to learning about the Create Table dialog box. Once our table exists, we'll learn the Table Tools Design Contextual tab. We're first going to examine a sample table in Microsoft Excel 2013. A table really isn't anything other than a spreadsheet, but it's got a few special characteristics. First of all, there can be no empty rows in a table. So you'll notice here I have a header row with headings indicating what my columns represent, and then immediately following that header row is my data. And that's important. It has to be one contiguous set of data. At the bottom of a table, you can also add a special row called a total row. This is something that a standard spreadsheet does not have. So once you've indicated that you're utilizing this as a table, you can add this special total row. Another feature of tables inside of Excel is you can have banded colors on your rows. And they've pre-built some styles that allow us to do that. So notice it just makes it a little easier to follow the data when every other row is a different color. Also, up in your ribbon, under Properties, there is a place for you to name this table, and then you can refer to that in various ways. Once your data exists on your spreadsheet and you have formatted it according to the rules, a header row, no spaces, and then your data, you can indicate to Excel that you intend to use this as a table. You go up to Insert, and down into the Table area is a capacity for you to create a table. If your mouse was selecting a cell anywhere inside of that contiguous range of data, it will detect it and fill in that range automatically for you in the Create Table dialog box. Notice it makes it an absolute reference from the upper left-hand corner all the way to the lower right-hand corner. You also want to indicate that your table has headers. Once you click OK here, Microsoft Excel from that point forward recognizes this range as a special type of data called a table. Once you have created a table, a new feature appears on your menu bar called Table Tools Design. This contextual tab provides a variety of choices for manipulating table data. And you've got a lot of things to learn here. We'll be learning about table styles, ways to format. We'll be focusing on naming our table. We'll also learn how to add that total row I told you about. So notice the choices on the contextual tab facilitate all of the things that we can do related to a table in Microsoft Excel. In this topic, we'll be sorting and filtering data. We'll learn how to sort data on a single column, and then how to sort data on multiple columns. We'll learn how to filter and sort data, and then we'll learn how to create an advanced filter with multiple criteria. Initially, one of the biggest values in creating a table in Microsoft Excel 2013 is the quick and easy capacity to sort. In that header row, when you turn on filtering, you get an arrow to the right of each of your heading choices. Clicking on that drop-down list gives you a variety of ways to sort. So if I want to sort from smallest to largest by author ID, I drop down this arrow and it gives me that as an immediate option. And all of the data in my defined table will then sort. In this case, notice it's from smallest to largest by author ID. Microsoft Excel 2013 does give you a way to sort on multiple columns, but you can't use those arrows that I showed you a moment ago to do that. The minute you select from a drop-down list in one column and make your choice, all of the data resorts based on that choice. So if I then went over to a different column, hit the arrow, dropped it down and sorted, it would obliterate my prior sort and then do that sort. So that doesn't work for sorting multiple columns. So I'll be showing you another way to sort on multiple columns. But what do we mean by that? Well, notice in this example, we have sorted first on number of books in print, then on the sale price, and then on the number of books sold. Now, it's important to note that this is only relevant when there are multiples of the same thing. So, here, for instance, I have multiples of the same sale price. Within that multiple, then, I may want to sort on something else. Okay, so notice, within all of the 299s, we are then from smallest to largest over here, 215 down to 1012. And then we start again inside of the next category. Okay, so sorting on multiple columns is only relevant when you have duplications of data in your initial sort values. So we've been talking about sorting thus far, and sorting allows us to take all our data and put it in a particular order. So sorting impacts order of data. But what if I want to actually hide certain pieces of information and only show information that meets a criteria that I specify? That is called filtering. So the difference between sorting and filtering, sorting is impacting order, filtering is impacting even what data is shown. So in the example here, what we've done is we've filtered to show only authors who have earned between $100,000 and $150,000. Okay, so notice I'm only seeing in this data set the rows of the authors who earned that amount of income. So it has the impact of essentially hiding all of the rows that aren't relevant. Once I've filtered, then I could go on and do a sort. In this case, we then sorted on the number of books sold. So here we have someone who made over $100,000, but they had the lowest number of books sold. We've sorted on this column. Microsoft Excel has a feature called advanced filtering that allows you to filter on more than one criteria. The way you set this up is you've got your table. Your table is your data range. And then you create a secondary area, separate. It can be on the same spreadsheet or it can be on a different sheet. And in that, your headers have to be repeated, and they have to match exactly the headers down here in your data. That's important. And then with no blank rows, right below the headers, you create an area for criteria to be entered. This advanced filtering capability then looks at this whole area here for your criteria range to know what its rules are for filtering the data down below. So here I am saying, show me anybody whose years under contract is greater than or equal to 10, number of books in print is less than or equal to 5, and number of books sold is greater than or equal to 600,000, and all three of these criteria have to be in place, I'm saying please filter the data and show me only people who meet that criteria, and 5 records were returned. In this topic, we're going to use summary and database functions to calculate data. We'll start by learning the subtotal function, and then we'll look at how to use summary functions. We'll look at a couple of examples. And then we'll compare sum and dsum. The subtotal function is a powerful function that works with a large range of data. The reason I specify that is because we have just finished talking about tables. And subtotal will not work on tables. It will only work on a range of data. So if you are specifying something as a table, you cannot utilize subtotals in a table. You've got to turn that data back into just straight range data. At that point, you can turn on the subtotal function based on a criteria on which you've sorted in your data. Now in this case, we have a royalty amount, a percentage that these authors make in royalty. Some people make more than others. Some people make a 9% royalty on their books. Others make 15%, others 20%. What we want to know is how much income have we given people who make 9% royalties? How much have we given to people who make 15%? So basically we need subtotals. Instead of us having to try to figure that out, the subtotal function is going to do the heavy lifting for us, and notice the results. We discussed how the subtotal function works on a range of data. If, however, you do have something set up as a table, it's not that you can't still get subtotals. It's just you can't use the subtotal function that is pre-built into Excel. You've got to write the subtotal function yourself. So in this example, we're back to a table here, and you can tell that because we've got our arrows. In a normal range, we don't have that capacity. And inside of the table then, what they're showing you is if you add a total row at the bottom, you can do various functions on different columns. In this first one, for instance, column C, I'm returning a count of how many people I am showing in the years under contract column. At the bottom of the number of books sold, I'm doing a sum function. Okay, so they're just showing you that you can utilize different functions in this total row in a table. And then notice all the way here in the income earned, I'm actually getting a subtotal based on what I have filtered above. So the point they're trying to make here is that it's not that you can't achieve a subtotal inside of a table, you just can't use the subtotal function. This is yet another example of utilizing subtotals in a table. Again, notice I have a table. You know I do because of the arrows. So this is defined as a table. It's got some sort of filter in place. And they've added the total row, and in this particular drop-down, they've chosen to get a subtotal of the number of books sold. Again, the point here is that you can do subtotaling in a table, you just can't use the subtotal function. I now want to discuss the difference between two very important functions in Excel, the sum function and the dsum function. Now that D actually stands for database. And there are a variety of database functions. For instance, you have average, but then you have d-average. Sum, but dsum. So what is the difference? Well, in the case of the sum function, here is an example of us summing the number of books sold. So notice The sum function takes everything in a particular range, the entire range, and gives me a total, a sum. The difference between sum and dsum is the fact that we are adding a criteria of some sort to dsum. We're telling it to look through a range. We're telling it where to put the result in cell E4. But we're saying please only sum the data that meets the criteria specified in D1 through E2. Now we can't see D1 through E2 here, but perhaps they're saying only some people who have more than 10 books in print, or only some books that were sold between a range of dates. Whatever the case may be, it has the capacity to look through this same set of data and only sum the things that meet that criteria. Notice the difference in the values. If dsum were summing everything in this column, we'd be getting this value. But it's not. It's ignoring certain things. This function works with tables. In this lesson, we learned how to organize worksheet data with tables. We learned how to create and modify tables, how to sort and filter our data, and then how to use summary and database functions to calculate data.